You know the drill, we don't just memorize. We grab our flashcards, and after today's class, we come back to the information we learned so we can put it long-term in our brains. We do not cram here. Today, we're gonna cover 5 things on accounting system. First up, determine informational needs, the cost of producing accounting information, basic functions of an accounting system, who designs and installs the accounting systems, and finally, the entities, components of their internal controls. Determining informational needs. All publicly traded companies in the US must comply with GAAP. What does that mean? The companies that you see listed on the stock exchange, they have been audited. You can easily compare their financial statements. You can compare Ulta's balance sheet to Sephora's balance sheet because they are both prepared under US GAAP. Second up, for tax reporting purposes, an entity must have an accounting software that shows taxable income. Very straightforward. The cost of producing accounting information, freaking expensive. Expensive, expensive, expensive. That's not on the slide. You wanna know why it's really expensive? Up here, you're gonna see it's gotta follow the laws. They're gonna decide if it's cost effective, but it's the accountant's salary and the overhead cost, meaning the cost of the building where the accountant is sitting in. That is why it's so expensive. A typical accountant has a bachelor's of science degree in accounting. I have a bachelor's of science degree in accounting. I have a master's degree. All of my colleagues have master's degrees. Accountants aren't cheap. The basic functions of an accounting system. The accounting system will be able to analyze and record transactions. What does that mean? You are working at Ulta Cosmetics as their senior staff accountant, and somebody came in and they ordered $150 worth of Jaclyn Hill bronzer. So the revenue is entered into the system. You can easily pull that up and analyze the transactions at the end of the month to see how much bronzer was sold. Also, another component of the software is the total. You need to total up how much bronzer is sold. You just don't want to see bronzer, 5 bronzers, 7 bronzers. You want to see that bronzer brought in $2 million worth of revenue for the entity. And finally, you summarize the data for decision usefulness, meaning you can see that Jaclyn Hill sold $10,000 worth of bronzer this month, and Kylie Cosmetics, she only sold $7,000 worth. So we at Ulta, we're gonna push the Kylie Cosmetics if we need to move inventory, or we might wind down the product and then focus our marketing budget on Jaclyn Hill's bronzer. So does that make sense? The data must be summarized so the entity can make good business decisions. Who designs and installs the accounting systems? Most large publicly traded companies, they are designing their own accounting system because they want it to be specific for their needs. Meaning they might get really granular on their data. Medium-sized entities will typically use your local CPA firm to set up their software, and small entities and startups are probably using prepackaged systems like QuickBooks. They just don't have the budget for some of the more robust softwares. Components of internal controls. Internal controls are so important. They ensure that your accounting information is recorded correctly. What does that mean? Okay, there are risks that can happen with a company. For example, let's say you are an accountant and you work in the treasury team. So that means you are responsible for that company's cash money, baby. And you're like, okay. So the reason why a system internal control needs to be in place is because they don't want just one person looking over the cash. They want you, the baby staff accountant, to enter in the wire, and then they want the accounting manager to review that wire to make sure you entered the cash correctly, and then they want the director to print off the report and make sure that the amount of cash available is reasonable. So there are processes put in place to ensure companies are following systems of internal control. Now note, this was actually put into accounting law by Sarbanes-Oxley, which means these publicly traded entities are required to disclose an annual report to ensuring you that they do prepare their accounting systems by using internal controls. What does that mean for you? It means that when you go and look up a Fortune 100 company or a Fortune 200 company, let's say you got paid with your new accounting salary. So you want to put 10% of your money into the stock market. And you're like, wow, I'm a really smart accountant. So I'm going to go online and I'm going to pull up Amazon's balance sheet, income statement, and statement of cash flows. And I'm going to read that and I'm going to decide to invest in Amazon because I can see that they're going up and their dividend and their stock pays a dividend quarterly. And I know that these financial statements are true and factual and accurate at that point in time because there is a strong, robust system of internal control put into place. Now let me know, what kind of accounting videos would you like to see in the comments below?